So while most people, of course, are taking the pandemic pretty seriously, right? We're masking up. You're masking up, right, Lance?
Of course.
Keeping your distance, 6 feet.
Yep.
A lot of us are staying home. I've been home. I work from home, so it's kind of easy for me. Um, and this is, we're doing all this, of course, amid one of the worst spikes in coronavirus in America. I don't know how you're doing in Canada. Probably a little bit better than we are, but
We were. Now we're doing really bad.
okay. Well, we're going to take the #1 award for being the worst country on coronavirus because of the people, that I'm about to talk about. So these are the people that are flouting social distancing. They're refusing to wear masks or anti-maskers, and they have decided that it is their sovereign right to eat in at Applebee's. Like, that's enshrined in the Constitution. You ask them, you're like, oh yeah, it's our constitutional right to eat indoors. So let me get to this report, right? So people over at One Fair Wage. Now, lefty communists, right? They're against freedom. They hate freedom. They love masks. Masks are about control. And something about 5G being injected into their face. I don't know. Anyway, so these people had did a survey of about 1,600 food service workers, right? This was between October 20th and November 10th in 5 states: New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, and Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. So you want to know what they found? Not only are servers receiving shitty tips, but they're also being harassed for wearing masks and socially distancing.
That is so fucked up. Like,
isn't it?
On so many levels. Like, I mean, I don't even have a funny joke there. Like, that's ridiculous. No. Like, those are frontline workers who are putting themselves in danger every day, and getting harassed for it on top of everything.
Oh yeah. Oh, it gets better too. Let me read some of the details. In some situations, food service workers reported enduring something called masculine harassment. And so what it is that it's where restaurant goers will request that the server remove their mask to gauge how much they should be tipped. Take your mask off so that, I can see how much I want to tip you.
Holy shit.
Yep. The whole study itself was titled, as a result of this phenomenon, "Take off your mask so I know how much to tip you."
I don't even know where to get started on that. So is it like a really fucked up eugenics thing? Is it like a hot or not swipe right and I'll pay you more money?
I would think so. I would think so on that. It also could be like you're so, you wearing a mask makes me uncomfortable because what I want to do is I want to have the perfect dine-in experience because I'm a fucking Karen. And I want to make sure that everything goes back to normal because I don't believe in this virus hoax or something. Jeez. I don't know what kind of I honestly don't quite understand what people are thinking when they go and do this.
Like, I don't know how else to explain it to one of these individuals. Like, it's not about you. Like, the mask is not protecting you, right? It's so you don't spread disease. It's like, it's I guess it's really difficult in like a libertarian mindset or an individualist mindset where it's just like, it's all about the individual. But yeah, that's the whole point. So you don't spray when you speak on other humans.
Right.
Man.
Well, okay. So let me give you more details on the percentages of people endure, like what they've had to endure. So the survey found that more than 80% of food industry workers have seen a massive decline in tips. So not only are these people not wearing masks, they're like tipping really, really poorly. And 40% claim that sexual harassment from customers has increased. So basically, while the rest of us have, decided to stay home, everyone else that's left are like literally the shittiest people in the country that are still going to, old country buffet and Applebee's to get the 2 for $1. That's who's left.
I mean, yeah, I still have no words. This is just absolutely fucked to me. Like the sexual harassment has increased. So
Yeah.
so this
Yeah.
is it. This is the trifecta. It's like, hey, by the way, if you don't go do this, you're going to get evicted and possibly die. You won't be able to eat. You won't be able to feed your family. You won't be able to go to the hospital. So you have to go to your job. Now, when you get to your job, you're going to be harassed, sexually harassed, verbally harassed.
Yep.
You're going to be harassed for wearing the mask. Afterwards, when you'd expect to get a tip, which is basically your livelihood as someone who's working in that industry, that's going to be based on how attractive they find you, or I guess maybe racially pure they find you. So to take off the mask so I can judge thee, and then we'll see what tips you get. Man, that's just like dance for your coins. That's so unbelievably cruel.
It is. And again, that's why they're the worst people in the country. And of course, you have to be one of the worst people in the country to demand that these restaurants stay open to begin with. And for you to demand all the stuff that you had just mentioned, the fact that we don't have healthcare in this country, those people that are going to the restaurants don't give a goddamn. In fact, they're against things like giving people healthcare, Medicare for all, and against raising wages for tipped workers, which currently is somewhere around $3 an hour, roughly, and plus tips. And so that's what you have. And of course, this is having a huge impact at the people who are working there. 60% of workers who rely on tips say that as a result of the worst people, the fucking Karens, they're hesitant when it comes to enforcing pandemic protocol, like asking customers to remain masked while moving through the restaurant. Very simple request. Okay. Or maintaining social distancing when dining, because they fear that it will affect their tips. Because, as you mentioned, they rely on this. It's insane.
It's unbelievable cruelty. I can't imagine it. The other thing people don't talk to you about, by the way, is that like we always hear the boys in blue, like, Blue Lives Matter, the cops, they put their lives in danger every single day. Like if one of them dies, it's because they had the honor, right, to be able to put themselves forth and defend society from the baddies, from the bad people. When the majority of people who die in the line of duty, it's not cops. If you look at the top 20 jobs, I mean, they do die. I think they're in the top 10, but in the top 5, one of which are delivery drivers, such as pizza delivery people, food delivery drivers, DoorDash drivers, all these people. They're not signing up for those jobs hoping to die. They're not signing up for those jobs hoping to be, sexually assaulted, to be physically assaulted, but they are. And they are en masse by virtue of their job, because they show up to strangers' homes, sometimes late at night, bring food, and then anything bad that can happen will happen. At a time now during the pandemic, these frontline workers are the ones getting it the worst. Like, that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, the pandemic in general has just really lifted the rock to show you how stratified the class system is. Like, who's going to suffer right now? It's going to be overwhelmingly Black Americans, overwhelmingly Indigenous Americans, overwhelmingly old Americans, and overwhelmingly poor Americans, just all the way down.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Because that's the big one that stretches across all of those demographic groups that you had just mentioned. Black people, Indigenous people, and the poor, Social Security recipient, or I'm sorry, the old on Social Security and things like that. That's the one unifying thing. They hate poor people. It is a thing here in America where, like, these kinds of people will go out and they're the ones that will shit on the servers. Like, if they mess up, if they forget to put like pickles on their burger, they'll go and throw a burger at you and be like, I demand a new one. I demand not only a new one, I also demand that you get fired and that you will never work in this town again because you forgot my fucking pickles, you worthless piece of shit. And that's America. And everybody looks at it and this is like, oh yeah, that's normal. That's on brand for America, because we have found a situation where, like, okay, we have huge economic stratification. We have an issue here in the country where there is very little social mobility at this point. Okay, and so there are people that are middle class that are hanging on to that by their fingernails. Okay, because they haven't got a wage increase in decades, right? And there are people, those same people. Some of them will look down on fast food workers and people that are making minimum wage and think, at least I'm not that guy. Yeah.
Well, that's always it, right? At least I'm not a janitor. I'm not a burger flipper.
Exactly. And how dare those burger flippers ask for $15 an hour, ask for a living wage when I only make when I make $17 an hour, doing this factory job or whatever. And believe me, I've worked in factories before, so like I didn't make $17 an hour. I made at most $13 an hour, and so. But there was that mindset like, well, at least I'm not one of those people, there you go. And so I'm better than you. Basically, I'm better than you. I've worked harder than you. I put myself out there better than you. And so therefore, I get to treat you like garbage because I'm a step above you.
Because I worked hard to get here. You didn't. You wanted to be a lazy member of society. You wanted to be a drug addict. You wanted to be homeless.
Exactly.
I mean, that's because you didn't want to play the game. So that's your own fault.
Right. And so understand that's the mindset of these people. And so all of this behavior for them is absolutely justified. They think, no, this is fine. You are my server. You are my servant for the day. And how many coins that I will, that I toss you at the end of the day is 100% inherently your fault if you don't get a good tip, and your reward for serving me justly, as you should. I think the fact that I'm having a conversation with somebody called, with a channel called The Serfs is very sort of appropriate, right? Because that's essentially, what we are in this system, and especially for the people that are doing these jobs that are, as you mentioned before, you're front line and asked to be to be put in the most danger, to be exposed to the most disease and to the worst people and to the worst treatment. Even before coronavirus, they were treated like shit. They're going to be treated like shit afterwards. They don't even get like hazard pay or any sort of bonuses like that. And of course, there's another career that also is home healthcare. People that work in like nursing homes, which my wife works in one of those types of adult foster care homes, and she can tell you the stuff that you have to go through, that you have to deal with, is not worth $10 an hour or $11 an hour. Is worth much more. But in America, we tend to put on the pedestal people who are working on Wall Street and big money, and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to humanities, when it comes to arts, when it comes to taking care of people, unless you're like a glitzy doctor, you deserve to be in poverty for your career choice because you didn't choose one of the good ones.
You didn't work hard enough for it. You didn't pick yourself up from your bootstraps. You didn't clean up your room.
There you go. I got one more thing here. Sure. And so
I sent you a meme I had made about that where it said feudalism isn't the problem. That's crony feudalism, right? Because that's the thing you always hear. I'm always like, capitalism is not the problem. It's crony capitalism. It's the corrupt capitalism. But the good capitalism helps everybody. It lifts everyone up at the same time.
Yeah. Starting to not really buy that one.
Seems like isn't.
So let me add in, and like I said, one more thing to this discussion, and that's the related to the coronavirus relief. I don't know if you've heard details about the latest bill that's being deliberated in Congress right now. The $908 billion quote unquote compromise bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the main provisions in it, since it has no stimulus checks, has only $300 worth of unemployment insurance, that's the additional federal benefit. And it's, time gated. There's only so much, I think an extra couple of months at most. This is your bipartisan compromise. And one of the big things that benefits both corporate Democrats and Republicans is their insistence on corporate liability. Okay. And so how it relates to the survey is that 44%, I'm sorry, not 44% of workers. That's a different stat here. But more than a third of workers reported that their employer had not conducted mandatory training on COVID safety protocols, and 70% of workers said their employers aren't consistent with following measures to keep guests and staff safe. And so you've got a lot of companies out there that are not doing what they need to do to keep their people safe. And you've got Congress that's saying, well, that's okay. We're going to make it so that you can't sue these companies if you get sick because we want to cut corners. That's America in a nutshell right there.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the bill that basically came after the one that Nancy Pelosi refused to sign right before the election, thinking that this would, of course, give Trump a boost, and she didn't want to risk that at the time. And I mean, neither here nor there. I don't. At the end of the day, all those stimulus bills, every single one of them from across the board, with the exception of the $1,200 one-time provision that was given to the citizens, have been there for the benefit of multinational corporations. And that should disgust everybody, because at this time, at a time when people are literally dying on the streets, when they're, it's an actual pandemic, it's not the time now for, can we save the cruise line industry? Can we keep them afloat? Like quite literally, can we provide billions and billions of dollars in subsidies of your taxpayer dollars to be able to keep this industry that shouldn't exist in the first place? At a time when climate change is just running amok, do we need the cruise line industry? Did we ever? But I mean, I'm just picking on them because they're low hanging fruit. There's a lot of different companies and corporations that should not be getting government subsidies anymore. Chiefly amongst them, the oil and gas sector. And I know whenever I say that, people are like, well, then how will we ever get the energy we need? I was like, the extraction of the energy isn't the problem. They're actually making more money than ever before. We as taxpayers shouldn't be helping that. We shouldn't be helping out companies that are killing us. I don't think that's a wild idea. At least I hope not.
It's not a wild idea. But what they consider to be a wild idea is a UBI, is making sure that they're using our tax money to then go and give us the money that we pay in so that we can survive.
Especially like taxing robots at the least or something.
I mean, but somehow that is considered to be a radical position, but saying that, hey, maybe we shouldn't give the airline industry another bailout, plural bailouts, and giving all these companies additional money, when really, to be more effective in an economy, especially if you want to like any kind of recovery, if you even want to call it a stimulus, you need to give that money back to the people, put it in the hands of the people, not in like, ooh, tax breaks or tax incentive. And we're going to do a rebate, which is what Pelosi and them had talked about before. I don't have enough
money to pay taxes, sir.
Exactly.
What rebate out of zero? Is there a rebate for $0?
Or like any sort of like credit or something like that. No, we need money in our hand. Where's the fucking money?
Yeah,
give us our.
I don't know. Does a lot of your audience listen to Richard Wolff? Do you guys cross over at all? Are they?
I'm not. I mean, I think a lot of my core audience is familiar. As so far as like a big chunk. I get a lot of my views.
Quickly rattle you one of his big theories in relation to the UBI. Two questions. One, people always ask you, how are we going to pay for UBI, and will rich people get UBI? The answer to the will rich people get UBI is yes, because that's what UBI is, universal basic income for everyone. So yes, Jeff Bezos gets $2,000. How do we pay for UBI? We tax the fuck out of Jeff Bezos. That one's very simple. The more you tax the rich, the more you can recoup to redistribute amongst other people. There are people who have become infinitely more wealthy since this all began, so they should be the ones that are getting taxed for that. That's one system. The second thing being, what are we going to do for the 30, 40, 50 million Americans who don't have jobs? Well, what did we do during the Great Recession? The government started a jobs program, an incredibly large jobs program. And right now, there's a lot of shit that needs to be done in the United States, infrastructure building, contact tracing, tons of things that'll save lives. The government can provide those jobs for unemployed Americans. And again, how did they pay for it back then? They taxed the motherfucking rich. They taxed the shit out of the rich. So let's do that again. Those are the two ways that can be done. And that can also be done through government.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I love the argument that some people, unlike that, liberals basically, will use to be like, oh, we can't do a UBI because rich people will get it. We can't do free college because rich people are going to take advantage of that. You realize they're the ones who are going to be paying for that, right?
Yeah, they're fitting the bill. And by the way, their bougie kids don't go to public schools or public colleges. They go to private schools and private colleges. They'll be fine. Don't worry. You don't need means testing right here.
Right. And even so, like, I don't give a shit. Okay, if your bougie kid wants to go to a public university, that's 100% fine by me. I don't care. Because you're going to get taxed for it anyway. So it's like you're going to be paying their way and the way of several other, thousands of other people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then maybe they'll become friends and share ideas, and who knows?
Yeah. See, this is how it would work if we had a functional country,
Yeah.
but we do not.
Yeah, and trust me, Canada's no better. I've been talking. Sorry to all your listeners, if any of you have been listening to this and thinking that Canada is some like utopia, we're horrifying too. All right, we are just absolutely abysmal towards our Indigenous population. We are still involved in a eugenics program. I'm not saying like back in the day. Today, as of now, there's like I think a 2019 study that came out that thousands of Indigenous women under our public healthcare system have been coerced into becoming infertile. So we're doing fucked up shit all the time. All right. Tons of conservatives. We have the KKK. We have white militias. We have all that fucked up shit. It's everywhere. Don't worry. There are just what I usually say is just look to other countries that are doing things. And in this case, Canada did things better than the US with the CERB giving the $2,000 per month. Take those examples and let's try and emulate them. I say the same thing about things in the Nordic model that work way better than us, right? In terms of prison reform, in terms of policing, in terms of what city budgets should go towards, in terms of paying for post-secondary education. In Finland, not only do you get post-secondary education for free, they pay you. Like you get paid as a student to take and live. And so you have money for your housing, you have money for your school, your books, all that stuff. So you can finish post-secondary education. Like that sounds outrageous. That sounds like communism or something, but it's not. That's a capitalist country working just more equitably distributing the wealth towards the citizens.
If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.